Are you in a slump? Or are you just looking for a book that you can't put down? Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to Towering TBR. Book slumps are the worst. You want to read, but nothing is sticking, and you end up DNFing a bunch of books. I have 10 recommendations of books that I think will grab you by the throat and not let you go. The kinds of books you'll stay up till 3 a.m. reading because you need to know what happens.
I don't need sleep. I need answers.
So, the first book I want to recommend is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. I was lucky enough to receive an ALC from Libro FM. They are an awesome audiobook service, so check them out if you're in the market for audiobooks. And this book just starts the tension on page 1. I'm going to read you the first paragraph. We're losing her. Detective Layla Washington feels helpless waiting for updates, and this latest text message is the most ominous yet. A young woman is trapped in a remote cave system miles inside the Cascade Range. She's injured, exhausted, and lapsing in and out of consciousness. Rescuers have managed to extract little information from her, not even a name. And at this point, questioning the victim is a waste of air and time. The team's sole priority is rescuing her before she dies. As Washington understands it, the woman is inside a limestone tunnel, just a few feet high and 18 inches wide. A cave-in sealed her inside the crawlspace sometime last night, and now she's pinned on her stomach by dense rockfall on all sides. One rescuer compared it to being stuck inside a smaller-than-average coffin, slowly filling with rocks, in pitch blackness, alone for the past 18 hours. So, the tension starts immediately. I am claustrophobic, and some of these descriptions were verging on horror for me because they were just so unsettling. So, this book is about two friends who want to go caving. And when they're there, they see a man who is intent on harming them. Because he is blocking the exit, there is no way to go out. They must go down, squeezing into tighter and tighter spaces. There are multiple twists, which obviously kept me turning all the pages, and I just couldn't put this down. The audiobook is narrated by Sophie Amos, and I thought she did a really good job. The next few I'm going to recommend fall into a theme of darkly humorous thrillers. Another book that left me on the edge of my seat was The Sociopath's Guide to a Successful Marriage by M.K. Oliver. Let me read you one of the opening paragraphs. The house boasts panoramic floor-to-ceiling glass doors, a generous south-facing garden, 5 well-appointed double bedrooms, 3 exquisite bathrooms, and 2 light-filled reception rooms, one of which currently contains a dead body. I've not called the police because it was I who stabbed him. 7 times in all, which no doubt the authorities would call overkill. The truth is, it's surprisingly difficult to kill someone with a vegetable knife. But as I was preparing carrot sticks at the time, it's all I had to hand. Wounds 2 through 7, therefore, were more to do with an eagerness to avoid any interruptions to Nathan's birthday party than they were to do with deranged psychopathic impulse. So, Lala Rook is obsessed with appearances, and she has 3 main goals to make her life better. The first, she wants her husband to get a promotion at work, which would also come with more money. With that, she wants to buy an expensive house in a ritzy neighborhood. And her third goal is to get her daughter into a private school. Scratch that, she has 4 goals. She also wants to get away with murder. I had so many questions. Why did the victim break into her house? What will happen when someone sees Lala getting rid of the body? Lala is truly unhinged, and she will do anything to meet her goals and keep her secrets. The audiobook is narrated by Perdita Weeks, and she has a lovely British accent, and I enjoyed the audiobook. I hate that this is a debut because I want more. I'm like, come on, write another book already. Another darkly humorous book that I want to recommend is You'd Look Better as a Ghost by Joanna Wallace. This focuses on Claire. Claire is a part-time serial killer. And she's having a really hard time in the beginning of the book. She is utterly devastated that her father has just died. And while at the funeral, she receives an email telling her that her art has been shortlisted for a prize, and wonderful. This was just the boost she needed, something to help take her mind off of her recent loss. But the next day, she receives a follow-up email in which the man apologizes and says, "I'm sorry, we actually made a mistake. The art we selected was by an artist with a similar name, and it wasn't actually yours." So she decides, "I'm gonna kill this man." However, what she doesn't know is that somebody is watching her. What have they seen? What do they think about her secret little hobby? And what will Claire do to stay out of prison? This was riveting. I couldn't put it down. Actually, all 10 of these books are going to be unputdownable because that's why I think they'll break your slump. The character is extremely funny and unhinged and acting on base instincts, and I never knew what she was going to do next. I enjoyed the audiobook, which was narrated by Fiona Hardingham, and I thought she did a good job. I just found out that there is a sequel coming out this year, and I've already put it on my TBR. I am really excited for more of Claire. The last darkly humorous book is Matchmaking for Psychopaths by Tasha Coriel. This was such a wonderful surprise because I picked it up on a whim with no expectations, and it knocked it out of the park. It was a 5-star read. So the book opens up with Lexi going to her birthday dinner with her best friend and her fiance. However, they are not there to celebrate her birthday. They didn't even remember it was her birthday. They are there to tell her that they have been having an affair, they are in love, and they are both essentially dumping her. Lexi is distraught. All she wants is a happily ever after. She decides to throw herself into her job. She is a matchmaker for psychopaths. Now, she doesn't tell anybody that she's just been dumped because that's going to hurt her credibility as a matchmaker. But instead, she decides to use this avenue to find a new best friend and possibly a new love interest. It seems like, okay, she's moving on. She's making the best of it. And then she receives a human heart. Lexi is confident that this human heart belongs to Noah, her ex-fiance. And it raises a lot of questions. Who killed him and why? And why are they sending pieces of him to her? This was so compelling. It was like a train wreck that you just can't look away from. Some of the twists literally made me gasp out loud. The audiobook was narrated by Sarah Malo Christensen, and I thought she did a good job. These next two I'm going to recommend fall under a revenge umbrella. So I want to recommend Confessions by Kane Minato, a Japanese thriller that I absolutely loved. This is translated by Stephen Snyder. This opens up with a middle school teacher on the last day of school telling her students that she is resigning after the death of her 4-year-old daughter. The daughter's death was not an accident. She was murdered by 2 of the teacher's students. She knows that as juveniles, they are not going to be held accountable, and so she decides to get her own revenge. We get a variety of viewpoints, both of the murder and of the consequences. There are so many twists, and that ending was perfect. It was so satisfying. I loved it. My other revenge story I read in just one day. I couldn't put it down. It was so good. And that book is Darling Rose Gold by Stephanie Roble. So this story is loosely based on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Gypsy Rose thought she was sick her entire life. In and out of hospitals, she had to get a feeding tube, she had to use a wheelchair. And it turns out she's not actually sick. Her mother has been poisoning her to get the attention of being the doting mother of an ill child. Now, in real life, Gypsy Rose and her boyfriend conspire together to murder the mother, and they both go to prison. However, in the book, it takes a different turn. Rose testifies against her mother. Her mother goes to prison for 5 years. Now, in the beginning of the book, the mother is now getting out of prison and is going back to live with her daughter, Rose. However, the mom is not the only manipulative one. Rose has had 5 years to come up with her revenge plan. How will she do it? This book is very twisty, and I did not predict that ending. The audiobook is narrated by 2 women, Megan Dodds and Jill Winternitz, and they each voice the mother or the daughter in alternating chapters. I love it when characters get their own voice actor. These next 3 are speculative thrillers, and I have put one author on here twice because John Marrs is just the king of writing unputdownable books. So the first I'd like to recommend is You Killed Me First. The opening scene is explosive. We find a woman tied up and inside a giant bonfire. It is Guy Fawkes night, and she knows that shortly this bonfire will be lit and she will be incinerated. As she is trying to escape, she realizes she has a Bluetooth piece in her ear, and when a voice starts talking to her, she desperately asks for help. But of course, they're not going to help her. They're the one who put her there. When she says, "Why? Why are you doing this?" the voice tells her, "You killed me first." What does that mean? We then go back 11 months and focus on 3 women in a neighborhood, Margot, Liv, and Anna. Who was placed in the bonfire? Who put her there? They all have secrets which are slowly unraveled. Again, very twisty, very much a page turner. And the audiobook has 8 narrators. It's a full cast audiobook, and definitely the way I would recommend you read this story. The other John Marrs book is The Passengers. Now, technically, this is the second book in kind of a loose companion series that John Marrs writes. It starts with the book, The One, in which DNA can now match you with your soulmate. You don't need to read the first book in order to read this, but if you want to, I think it's good. I just think that this is more compelling. So I mentioned this was a speculative thriller, and in the society, most cars are autonomous. 8 cars are hacked. The hacker lets them know that they are on a collision course and that they will all die in 2.5 hours. The hacker then offers a modern-day trolley problem. The public can choose one car to save. If the people refuse to pick a car, then all 8 will die. But how do you choose who to save? The tagline is, "Who lives, who dies, you decide." These cars, of course, though, were not chosen randomly. All 8 of these passengers have secrets. And as they are slowly revealed, the public changes their minds on who they think deserve to be saved. There are some great themes, anti-capitalist themes, warnings against AI and lack of privacy, as well as thought-provoking discussions on how we assign value to people. Should people be reduced down to a label or by one mistake? People are multi-layered. They're not all good or all bad. And that, of course, makes the public's decision even more difficult. We get another multicast audiobook with this, which was amazing because as there are 8 passengers, that's a lot to keep track of. And having dedicated voices really kept the story clear in my head. And the last speculative thriller I want to mention is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. We follow a woman called Jen. Her son has just turned 18, and he is flouting the curfew. She is waiting up, looking out for him, and sees through the kitchen window Todd coming home, and then she sees him stab a man. She immediately runs out and tries to save the man and question her son, "Why would you do this? Why did you stab this man?" But he refuses to answer, and is taken away by the police. Because it is really late, the mother and the father decide to go to bed and to get up early the next day to go down to the police station to get some answers and to possibly post bail. But when Jen wakes, it is not the next morning, it is actually the previous morning. She is in a backwards time loop. Todd has not stabbed anyone yet. She becomes convinced that going through time backwards can be rectified if she can figure out why Todd did what he did and how she can prevent it. I couldn't put this down. It was riveting and exciting, and it actually spurred me to read most of Gillian McAllister's backlist. I still think this is her best book because I love the time travel element so much. The audiobook was narrated by Leslie Sharp, and I thought she did a good job. My last book is a literary thriller called Culla by Colin Walsh. We focus on a group of 6 friends in a small town in Ireland. We have 2 timelines. The past timeline, when they are all 15, best friends, hanging out, and then Culla disappears, and the group basically breaks up. We also have a current timeline when the characters are all 30 and back in town for various reasons. They hear that a body has been discovered, and they are eagerly anticipating finding out what really happened to Kala. However, then 2 more girls go missing. It is the catalyst for uncovering so many secrets that rock this small town. We get 3 of the friends' perspectives: Mush, Joe, and Helen, and each of those characters have a dedicated narrator. Frank Blake, Mo Dunford, and Shauna Kerslake are the 3 narrators, and they have gorgeous Irish accents, which really help bring the setting alive. Now, while I absolutely love this book, I do want to mention I do not like reading about books with animal cruelty or animal death, and this book has both of those. I do not like reading about that, but I was too far into the book to be derailed by that. But just know that there is a ton of trigger warnings for this book, and if you're sensitive, check those out before you dive in. Okay, well, there you have it. 10 books that will hopefully break your slump. I'm curious, what books have worked to break your slump before? Leave your recommendations down in the comments below. If you enjoy my videos, subscribe, join the conversation, join the community. We'd love to have you. Another great option for getting back into reading is to read short books. You can check out my video here, where I recommend a ton of short reads. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy reading!